The country's economy grew at a faster rate in the third quarter, even in the face of soaring inflation.
Economists attributed the expansion to revenge spending following 2 years of lockdowns due to the pandemic. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez has the big story.
The Philippine economy grew much faster than expected in the third quarter of 2022. GDP came in at 7.6%, beating most forecasts by a mile. The data showed that Filipinos continue to spend big, even in the face of high inflation.
We are on track to achieving the government's growth target of 6.5 to 7.5. This turnout signifies that Filipino families are close to returning to pre-pandemic life, as more people visit restaurants and hotels and engage in recreational activities within the country.
Data from the Statistics Agency show most sectors sustained growth, with household consumption leading the way. Balisacan said the resumption of face-to-face classes also boosted growth. Agriculture also grew 2.2%, though that doesn't yet include the impact of typhoons Carding and Paeng. Here in Divisoria, a place known for bargain hunting, people have begun shopping for Christmas as they always do this time of the year.
2 taon, wala namang Pasko. Siyempre, excited yung mga bata para mamasko ulit. Kung sa may mga kayang bumili, okay lang naman. Sa mga wala, yun nga, sabi mo, mahal. Maraming nagsitaas, lalos lahat talaga nagsitaasan ng presyo.
Economists say revenge spending will continue to prop up the economy in the next few quarters.
Basically just saying, we don't know when we're going to have the chance to do this anymore, given the events of 2020. So spend now, invest now. The reopening is in full swing. But yeah, I guess the big question is how much longer can we take these higher prices?
But he is also getting worried about what this means for Filipino savings, especially with the prospect of a global recession next year.
One thing that we're looking at is that savings, people have been dipping into their savings and they're not able to build them up again.
Meanwhile, the government says it will continue to combat inflation by providing cash transfers, fuel discounts, and other forms of targeted assistance to vulnerable sectors. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, we are One News.
And here to talk to us about the country's 7.6% GDP growth in the third quarter, we have with us live via Zoom Sir Percival Peña-Reyes, Director of the Ateneo Center for Economic Research and Development. Sir, magandang gabi and welcome to the big story.
Good evening, magandang gabi sa inyong lahat at sa ating mga tagapanood.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us. Sir, of course, better than expected numbers. Big question is, can a country sustain this growth given the current inflation situation and given the possibility of even higher inflation rates by December?
Yes, well, in fact, we submitted a forecast also, 7.7%, higher, of course, than the median, which was 6.1. Highest, but turned out to be the closest, I'm proud to say. And we feel also that the growth target of 6.5 to 7.5% is achievable. In fact, we see that for the whole year, we might even exceed it a bit. Our view is about 7.6%. Of course, if we are able to manage, of course, as you have mentioned, inflation, because it's still, of course, in a cautionary state, but not just here. We're also seeing it happening elsewhere in the world. But on the upside, we're seeing an positive indication in terms of employment. Unemployment seems to be on the recovery side. And my colleagues and I, in our pronouncements and also in our briefings, we are quite optimistic in the sense that we seem to be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel already. But of course, we have to monitor closely what's happening to the dollar and, of course, the price of oil.
Prof, most of this now was consumption-driven and from revenge spending. People are dipping into the savings that they had that they weren't able to spend. First question, how long is this revenge spending going to be happening? And what about our fundamental areas of growth, industrial output, exports? What do you make of that, sir?
Well, for revenge spending, yes, I see that. Even anecdotally, if you look at traffic right now, it's surprisingly, you see a lot of traffic, even if fuel prices have gone up. Okay, but in terms of consumption and investment, we see that it could still further accelerate before reverting to normalcy. Now, your question about how long this could last, of course, savings is primary concern. There might be a risk also of depleting them, since we do not we're not yet sure how much how far we can sustain this. But of course, we have to also perhaps look outward and channel our energies really more into exports and FDIs. Okay? We see depreciation happening, but on the upside, it could benefit the export sector, tourism, import competing industries, remittances, beneficiaries of OFW remittances, and workers in new or expanding foreign firms that find investing cheaper. So that's FDI. But of course, we have a limitation in terms of our domestic market. We also need to look outward. And not everybody would enjoy the benefit of having that cushion in terms of dollar earnings. Okay? So inflation does not discriminate. And when it hits us, it hits everyone. But those who have the benefit of cushion from dollar earnings would not feel the blow as much as those who do not have such benefit. That's why really we have to look more outward in terms of channeling our growth and push more the export sector and FDI.
Sir, let me take a stab here. I will not pretend to be an expert in the economy, so help me out here. It's basically growth based on increased spending. However, hindi ba chicken and the egg din to? Kasi spending can also drive up inflation further. And in the end, is it possible that the higher inflation because of that will also temper spending?
Yes, that's a good question, sir. Because what we're seeing really right now, it's inflation that is more induced by the supply side. It's externally driven. Okay? But of course, we would want to prop up demand. Okay? Because the thing here is you need to outgrow your inflation.
Yeah.
Okay? So if your GDP is growing by 7.6%, that's good. But as I mentioned, inflation is still in a cautionary state. Okay? If your inflation is the latest figure, if I recall, 7.7%, okay? We have to, of course, manage that. Okay? The key really here is, of course, is to outgrow the inflation. And also,
Outpace the inflation,
on the fiscal side, on the side of public finance, we also have to manage our finances well. Because like what was mentioned earlier, we could do subsidies, but we have to be very prudent in using those subsidies. We have to target them properly to the most vulnerable sectors of the population.
Okay, thank you so much for that input. That was, of course, Sir Percival Peña-Reyes, Director of the Ateneo Center for Economic Research and Development. Thank you, sir.